Alrighty, so today we are going to be taking a look at an official port of the PopOS 21.10 for the Raspberry Pi 4. This is currently in beta, but it's super exciting to see an official port of PopOS being developed for a device like the Raspberry Pi 4. I am just so excited for this. Just like today's sponsor, Keysfan.com. Windows 11 is now out with its stunning new design, and chances are you probably want to use it activated. If you've ever wanted to activate Windows 11 or 10 before and looked over on the official Microsoft website just to see how expensive it is, well, Keysfan.com is here for you. Keysfan provides a low-cost, legal Windows 11 Pro OEM key. It is 100% official, and you can enjoy using online activation. Check out their Halloween sale that is going on right now as I speak, and get an additional 25% off when you use my coupon code. So, let's say you want to activate Windows 11 Pro. First, head over to keysfan.com, choose the Windows 11 Pro OEM key, and add it to your shopping cart. Then go over to the part that says use coupon code and enter my code, THH25. I repeat myself, THH25. Then purchase it with PayPal or a credit card, and bam, enjoy your new cheap Windows product key. This is keysfan.com. They provide cheap and legal activation codes for Windows, Office, and other great software. Alrighty, so this is my first look at PopOS 21.10 for the Raspberry Pi 4, so let's dive straight into the desktop and just see what we have. So it actually starts up with a setup process just like the official PopOS build. I will leave like a little fast clip of what this looked like, but it was super simple. You flash it to your SD card from this beta website, you boot it up on your Raspberry Pi 4, and you run through the setup process, making an account, choosing the time zone, and different settings like that. It's super simple. After the second boot, you will be welcomed by a welcome screen, just like the official PopOS. So first of all, you see it right here, click the next button. And so we have welcome to PopOS. Continue the desktop setup by choosing your preferred layout. My preferred layout, I really don't love this extended dock. I don't like that feel. So I'm gonna go dock doesn't extend to the edges. And man, that just gives you a much more macOS style feel, and I really do like that more. I'm gonna click next now. Show workspace buttons, that is right here. I'm gonna leave that for this video. Show applications button, I'll leave that. Date and time notification position, right now it is in the center. I could make that over to the left or the right, but for the purpose of this video, I will be leaving it straight in the center. So I'll click next. Open and switch application launcher. So this can be opened with the super key. So you click the Windows key and you can open up a really quick application opener, and this is functional on this build of PopOS. So we will be taking a look at that in a little bit. That's really cool. We click next. Use gestures for easier navigation. You don't really have a trackpad for a Raspberry Pi 4 normally, so that's not going to matter. And our time, we have light mode or we have dark mode. It comes by default with dark mode, and that's what I'll be sticking to. All done to start using PopOS. So PopOS now is completely set up on my Raspberry Pi 4, and let's dive straight in. So first of all, what I like to do on all these distributions is see how much RAM we're using, NeoFetch, and see just what type of system we are using. So I'm gonna head right here, open up the terminal. It's located on the dock right there. And yeah, we'll put this over to the middle, and first of all, I'm gonna type in htop. That will give me a system resource usage type of information. So first of all, on idle, we are using 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. So I'd say it's pretty hefty for the Raspberry Pi 4, considering most people only own a 4 or 2 gigabyte model. I do own an 8 gigabyte model, so it's not a huge worry for me, but for some people that will be an issue. And I mean, this is pretty standard for a GNOME distribution on the Raspberry Pi 4, but according to the screenshots of Jeremy Solar, he had much lower RAM usages, almost in like the 700 to 600 megabytes if I remember correctly. So This is in beta, so maybe further down the road we will get much better optimizations for the Raspberry Pi 4 and maybe see some better RAM options. But for now, that's pretty good. These cores are also pretty normal. And yeah, so it's pretty close to default Ubuntu if I do say so myself. So to exit this, I'm going to go Control C. And now let's type in Neofetch to take a look at our system, or what type of system we're running actually. So we type in Neofetch and our logo is going to be PopOS. So this says we are running PopOS 21.10 Arch 64, meaning this is a 64-bit operating system. But this is still in beta, remember that. My Raspberry Pi 4 model, everything there is correct. And we are running GNOME 40 in this build since this is based on Ubuntu 21.10, which does use GNOME 40. And let me know in the comments below if you would like a video reviewing Ubuntu 21.10 with GNOME 40. Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, for the most part, this is a pretty standard system. My resolution, everything is good. And this is pretty much what you'd get if you installed PopOS on your desktop PC. So let's dive straight into the desktop and the appearance and really how the PopOS desktop works, and take a look at some of the performance on a device like the Raspberry Pi 4. So first of all, in the left we have our notifications, our Wi-Fi, Bluetooth settings, and lock and power. This is all exactly like Ubuntu, nothing too special right here. Right here we have a thing called tile windows. Pop tiling is actually one of my favorite features of PopOS. It allows you to automatically tile all of your windows, meaning it will tile them and make it really neat and perfect on your desktop. And I personally do enjoy this. So let's test this out and see if it works. So we go tile windows, we turn that on. So we'll go over down to the dock, we'll open up an app like Files. So you see it automatically tiles it right here. It leaves some nice spacing on the top, and the bottom spacing really does look a bit strange, which I will refer to in a little bit. But we can go like open up a terminal as well, and it puts them side by side. And you see that did take a bit long to open up, but we're not going to worry about that right now. And with the windows and arrow keys, you're able to switch between the windows, and it's a really nice experience if you want to have a lot of windows open in a really neat and good environment. So I really do love the pop tiling feature. I'd definitely go into it deeper if I were on my own and learn all the key bindings. You see, you can view all the key bindings, and you can just memorize these things, and you can be a real power user using PopOS. So I totally recommend you to go through this thing, read through it, and even memorize some of them. You could really see that you are enjoying your experience. So I'm going to turn off tile windows for now because I don't want it. And you floating windows exceptions, so you can add exceptions so that all of them actually aren't floating. That's pretty cool. So there is a lot of settings through here. I'm not going to be going through all that right now. But yeah, so in the middle we have our time, pretty standard Ubuntu clock or GNOME clock. Yeah, nothing too special here. In applications, I click that, and this is one of the bugs that I ran into. I've rebooted it a couple of times. On my first boot, I actually did get the application icons to show up here, but they were extremely small. After all my reboots, nothing seems to be showing up right here. I don't know what the reason or what is happening behind here, but I guess we have to remember this isn't beta. But let's say I want to search something, terminal, it will show up. So don't ask me why. Hopefully later on the road they do fix this issue. In workspaces, we can just switch through our workspaces, and this really stayed the same as GNOME 38. We are running GNOME 40 on Ubuntu 21.10, but the workspaces still are vertical rather than sideways. And yeah, so nothing to complain there. I don't use this feature that much, but I know some people do. And next, over on the dock right here, first of all, we have our application finder, our launcher, which I am a really big fan of. If you click the Windows key, you are able to launch this, by the way. But right here we have it, and let's say we want to open up any application like the Pop Shop. We type in Pop Shop, and here we go. So all these applications show up, and we can type in Pop Shop right here, and it automatically launches it for us. How incredible is that to have such a powerful launcher on the tip of your keys? I really do love that. And we can even type in file names, I'm pretty sure. So we type in downloads. It should well, it didn't show up. So maybe it doesn't do files, or maybe you have to have specific files on your system. But overall, it's a really awesome application launcher, and I love it. Next of all, right here, we have our show workspaces, which does the exact same thing as this button right here. I don't really see the purpose of this right here, but again, just my personal preference. Next, we have show applications, which again, it looks really like the macOS launchpad. No complaints there, I love it, but again, it would be awesome to actually see the application icons right here. Next, we have Firefox, a classic web browser on PopOS. We have our Files application, which is again themed pretty nicely. I like the blue tint, and it's not a list, it's the classic GNOME file manager. Next, we have our terminal. Again, it's just GNOME terminal. Nothing too special on this side. We have the Pop Shop, which the Pop Shop is actually a really good app store if you are on desktop Linux. But one thing I've noticed, it doesn't look like they've actually ported this completely to the Raspberry Pi 4, because if you know anything about the Raspberry Pi 4, you know you're not going to be able to run Steam, you're not going to be able to run Slack or Alacrity without having to compile them, or Steam isn't going to work at all. Or for an example, I could type in Discord right here, because I know for a fact Discord does not have an ARM client. So once I type in Discord, which that loading time, not that good at all. But you see right here, Discord comes up and it says PopOS Deb. So it looks like it would work on a Raspberry Pi 4, but when we click install, it's going to say waiting, and then it's going to say failed to install. If we click details, it's going to say this package IDs are not valid. So a lot of the software in here right now seems to just not be working for ARM. It's more based on x86, which I hope later on in the process they actually will go through and fix all of this, because most of these applications aren't here. But the Pop Shop does have a lot of potential to be a great app store, and I hope they go through and develop it a bit more for the Raspberry Pi 4. And one more thing, so Visual Studio Code, I know they do have an ARM port, but let's see if it even works on ARM. So we click install. Is it going to work? Nope. So it seems like PopOS from the Pop Shop really just doesn't go to any ARM repositories right now. It's all focused on x86. And yeah, so that is going to be one of the current issues with Pop Shop. Next, we have settings, and this is basically the classic GNOME settings with a couple of setting applications that PopOS has actually added. So we actually are running this on X11 right now. We're 40.4, and this is 64-bit. So overall, most of the things in here are pretty standard. We have OS upgrade and recovery, which, as far as I remember, isn't in default GNOME or anything like that. So I guess this is to upgrade your PopOS version, but we are already on the latest version. If we go over to the Appearance tab, or the Desktop tab, there are actually some cool settings in here that are really helpful. So our launcher, we can make the super key action. So when I hit the Windows key, it opens up the launcher. Well, we could change that if we like to either workspaces or applications. It's really up to you. I will just leave that as a launcher. Enable top hot left corner for workspaces. So if we enable that, we go right here. Theoretically, yeah, it should open up workspaces, but that can get annoying sometimes. Sometimes it is useful. So on the top bar, we can leave the workspaces buttons and the applications. I personally, because I don't use the workspace buttons, I would just turn that off for myself. And I do want a maximize button, so I would turn that on to get that plus sign right there. And in the background, there are a few wallpapers that come with PopOS that are really interesting wallpapers. Like, this one really does look interesting, so I'll leave that as my current desktop. In Appearance tab, we can go with light mode or dark. There really isn't that much in there. In dock, I really don't like the workspaces button on my dock, so I would just turn that off because I don't use it. And yeah, so that's about it of the settings, the appearance settings. In here, there are some workspace settings that you can go along, but for the most part, it's pretty much standard GNOME settings, not too much going there. I did go ahead and customize it in my current preference, but hey, this is Linux, you can customize it. Oh, one more thing, let's make this dock auto hide, because the dock being on the bottom like this just really does get on my nerves. And yeah, so where can we do that? It's right now it's on always visible. I want to change that to intelligently hide. So when we do that, There we go. So when we put our thing on the bottom, it will just pop up. That's how I like my docks. It works really well and it's really stable. But yeah, so as you've seen from the video so far, it really does look a bit laggy, which really does make me feel sad because I really want this to be an amazing operating system. But I am not losing hope. This still is in beta, so there could be a lot of issues. No problems. Next, for the last test, let's go over to the web browser, test out some web browsing, a little video playback, and then I'll conclude this video with my final thoughts. And yeah, so Firefox, those launching speeds just aren't that good. I am really sad about that. So let's first head over to google.com. Alright, so here we go. Let's type in Pi4. And yeah, so the loading speeds on this are pretty respectable. It's okay, I mean, it's not the greatest thing, but hey, it's here. So if we went over to a raspberrypi.com right here, buy a Raspberry Pi 4 Model B, it loads up okay. Would you be okay with this web browsing? For sure, for sure. Is it the greatest web browsing ever? No. But hey, I mean, you can't have everything you want. So if we went to Amazon.com, right here, we just type the URL straight in here. It takes a little bit to load up, but once it loads up, it should be fairly smooth. I do see a little bit of just like the scrolling isn't the smoothest thing I've ever seen, but hey, it works and that's all I can really say. So, I mean, yeah. So web browsing, you're going to be okay with web browsing on here on this beta version, but yeah. Next, let's head straight over to youtube.com and look at some Big Bug Bunny and see, can we play a 1080p video on here? If not, we'll just head straight over to 720p because I really just don't have much hope for any type of 1080p video on here. I just considering the performance, it just doesn't look like it's going to be able to handle it. But I mean, we never know. So right here, we're going to start out with the Big Buck Bunny, the 720p version, and then if it works okay, we'll head over to the other one. Turn off captions, settings. Right now, what version are we on? What resolution? Okay, that took a while to open up. 480p, and we are in 720p. So we can right click and go stats for nerds. Alright, so right here, right now, how many frames are we dropping? So right now we've dropped 21 frames out of 320. It keeps on changing. But we are dropping a few frames, quite a few, few actually. If we skip to the middle right here, you see, is this watchable? Sure, it is watchable for sure. Are you gonna notice a lot of stuttering? This isn't gonna be the smoothest experience you're gonna be getting on any device. Which again, that is a bit of a bummer, but hey, I'm not really gonna say anything too thing for the performance because this still is a beta build. But hey, I don't think we need to test out 1080p on here. I don't really know what the results. I can guess it's not gonna do well. But yeah, so this is the Firefox web browser on PopOS. Again, if I did go ahead and install Chromium, I could get better performance. I could do that by going sudo snap install Chromium through the terminal. Well, do we even have snap installed? I'm not sure. If we don't have snap installed, we have to install sudo apt install snapd, and then you could install snap. So we don't even have snap installed. But hey, so my final thoughts on PopOS 21.10 for the Raspberry Pi 4, the beta version. Hey, I see a lot of potential in this operating system. I really do, and I am really excited to see where this operating system is going to be headed when the official port comes through. I really hope that there is a lot of performance optimizations, like the App Store right here, the Pop Shop is fixed, just some better overall graphics performance with this operating system, and this operating system really could be a top-notch operating system for the Raspberry Pi 4. But again, it is using GNOME. GNOME is a really heavy desktop environment, and for the Raspberry Pi 4, you're never going to get incredible experience with GNOME just because of what GNOME is. It's heavy. But yeah, so would I recommend you guys to try this out, the beta version? If you're interested, go right ahead to this website right here, download the beta version, and you will have a blast playing around with it. It really is fun, and I will keep you guys posted, maybe even another video when the official build comes out on the PopOS website. But for now, stay tuned, and yeah, let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and thanks for watching.